Outlaw Sports is brought to you by Molson Canadian, made from Canada, and Rocky Mountain Barbecue, Alberta barbecue cuisine at its best. Let's look at the NHL quickly before the season starts. One topic, should fighting stay or go?
I like it.
Yeah.
You know, at the end of the day, it's the entertainment business, and people forget that. And I know that some of the tragic deaths that happened in the summer, and people want to link that to the enforcer role and the stress involved and all that. And put all that aside, I mean, I enjoy a good fight. Now, there are some times when I watch it and I say, that was completely unnecessary, and the timing of it was puzzling, and I don't get it whatsoever, and I didn't want to see that guy get bashed in the way he did. Could anybody been happy with fighting when Radis Ivanins got that one punch by Steve McIntyre last year and probably ended his career?
Wow.
Could anyone have watched that, even an Oiler fan, and said, that is awesome? But I don't know. But
you did get some of that, unfortunately, from up north. But
at the time, but I think even now, I think Oiler fans would say, wow, that's awful that happened to him, poor guy. But anyway, it's entertainment. I like it. I know that guys like Jim Poplinski, Dave Schultz, even the Hammer, are even saying the days are numbered for fighting. And Poplinski even went even further and saying, I don't want fighting in the game anymore. You know, the one thing I thought was interesting was Schultz said, you know, back in our day, nobody was on steroids. Nobody really worked out that much. If you lost a fight, the worst thing that you'd hurt is your feelings. Nowadays, these guys are 250 pounds. They study MMA. Yep. You know, one punch could end a man's life, never mind his career.
Sure.
So it's a totally different thing. I don't like stage fighting, but I like fighting in general. Do you want it to disappear?
I'll tell you what, you don't have to go very far to see how effective an enforcer can be than last year's Stanley Cup. You looked at what the Vancouver Canucks did. Boston Bruins didn't have Sean Thornton in. Yeah. Game number 3, who comes back? After that, Lapierre and Burroughs didn't chirp. They weren't the arrogant little mouthpieces that they were. Yeah. They had to be accountable. So a guy like that, and I like that kind of guy because he's got at least enough skills. The Jody Shelleys and people like that, yes, coming off the bench, being a big goon, no, I don't like that. You have to have some talent to play.
I agree. And Rick Rippon was a guy who had some talent and could play an energy role. Derek Bugard couldn't play at all. Yeah. You know, Wade Belak really couldn't play at all either. And their names are irrelevant. I guess I shouldn't really bring them up. But, you know, I like a guy like, you know, the Bruins, you know, they're tough young stud. Milan Lucic. Yeah. You know, I wish every team had a player like that. Those sort of fights that happen out of anger and the heat of the moment. Milan Lucic is not going to plot a fight all game long. Milan Lucic is plotting to get a hat trick. Yeah. I like that. And if a fight breaks out, he can handle himself. Same with Jerome McGinley. Sure. I wish every team had guys like that where a fight was still able to break out without a 10-game suspension or whatever, which is probably what the league's going to have to do if you want to get rid of fighting. But, you know, I don't like the token goons either. I'd agree with you.
The Bob Proberts, the Marty McSorleys. Probert, I mean, 1 year scoring 30 goals and having 300 penalty minutes. Yeah. And the fights, the epic fights that these guys had. I mean, when all this came back, I just kind of went to YouTube just to kind of go back in time and look at the history of fighting. Holy smokes. These guys were warriors, and the fights, you remember Craig Cox and Probert and the fights they had. Those were legendary fights, and you know, those two guys were just gladiators exchanging punches.
But if one of those guys were to fight any one of today's enforcers, like Steve McIntyre, or like, you know, pick one of the better ones, Eric Goddard, I don't know who you think is the best. Do you think they'd have any chance? Do you think Dave the Hammer Schultz, the guy, the most penalized guy in the history of the hockey, do you think he could fight any of the enforcers now and live to tell?
Well,
because today's guys are, like I said, they're training all year round.
It's a different ball game. It's a different
Dave Schultz was like 185 pounds. You know, like it's men amongst boys, and it's like comparing eras. You know, Gretzky will tell you that the Oilers of their day would probably be crushed by any team in the league right now, based on fitness levels, based on video studies that players do, all the other things. It's just a natural progression, but it's progressed to the point where someone is clearly going to get hurt, you know, and someone has last year, Ivanins.
Yeah, I just want to take a couple quick notes about some milestones this year in the NHL, a couple that the Flames have to look at. Jerome, I believe, is 16 goals away from hitting 500. Quite a landmark. And
I think he'll get there this year.
Oh, yeah.
I think he'll get there. Now that he's got Tanguay, you know, it's pretty much guaranteed. No, that's great. You know what? We've had, in Calgary, we've been lucky. We've had a handful of really neat moments over the last handful of years because we are following an older team here, you know, with the silver stick that Conroy got, the silver stick Iginla got. I think Langkow got a silver stick in there, you know, for 1,000 games. And then some of these other milestones, Iggy's hit the 1,000-point mark recently and became the most decorated Flame of all time. Some neat moments, and you know what? If you're lucky enough to be there, or even just watching on TV, it's pretty neat to be able to salute these guys because they probably don't get enough credit for their longevity.
Kiprusoff, this one surprised me. He's 24 games away from 300. But here's a guy's playing 70 games a year. So, and then you look at Theodore, who's 16 games behind him, and it seems to be around forever.
Yeah.
I mean, they shouldn't be in the same breath, but here they are. Really, they're close in stats.
Yeah, you know what? I would love to crunch these numbers, and I will as the season draws near. I would dare say there's no chance any goalie in the National Hockey League has as many wins as Kipper in the last 5-6 years. Ever since Kipper became a Flame, I bet you that nobody has more wins. Only guy who may be close is Martin Brodeur. But he had such a bad year last year and an injury that he probably lost some ground there. So, yeah, I mean, Kiprusoff is also a guy who's really withstood the test of time, which is amazing considering the one knock on Kiprusoff always is his conditioning.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny? What is the irony of a guy who plays more than anybody in the National Hockey League is being knocked for his conditioning? But you won't see him play 70 games this year.
Yeah.
And they swear, they cross their heart and hope to die, pinky swear that he won't play 70 games this year. Same thing they did the last 3 or 4 years in a row.
Tired of going to redneck barbecues? Well, you better call Rocky Mountain Barbecue. Alberta barbecue cuisine at its best. Great tasting food, clean and efficient service. Check us out online or call Rocky Mountain Barbecue.